Hi, everybody. Good morning. Lovely to see you. I'm so happy to be here doing my residency workshop at Peep Stryx. So really lovely to see you all. My work is to do with invisibility, and because of that, I have been making tape objects because it's see-through, and if you look at this little jug that I made, it's see-through, it's quite vulnerable, and I like the material and I like the way it works. So today, if there are any children watching, I am going to show you how to make a pear. And if there are any adults who want to join in with the workshop, please choose any object. The jug that I used was like this, and it had got quite a nice sharp edge here. So I knew that I would get a good, nice shape to it as I added the tape and then cut it out. Anyway, so what you're going to need is to use some cling film, tape dispenser if you've got one. If not, literally cut yourself off some lengths and put them down so that you can pick them up easily. Now, don't make the lengths too long because it becomes much harder to work with. And also you will need a pair of scissors, a pear, and why I've suggested that children use a pear is that the scissors, once the tape's all on, can go straight into the pear, you can see, and it makes it much, much easier for cutting out. For those of you who are more advanced, of course, and if I'm using a large object, I will use a scalpel to cut out with, but that is not allowed for anybody under the age of about 18. So I'll show you a head that I made. And for this, of course, I used a polystyrene head to take the shape. And this takes usually about an hour and a half to do. And that's why I've chosen small objects today. Right, we'll make a start. So here's my pear and here's the cling film. And what I do is I take a piece of cling film and just tear it so that I have a piece about that size. And then what I do is I put the pear in the middle and just turn it over and bring all the ends up. Like that. And so it's just covered, and I squeeze it so it's quite tight, and the little extra bit, I just literally fold it round and round and round as if it's the stalk. And just smooth it. And then you need to cut your tape and start sticking. And because this is this shape, I'm going to do horizontal strips first. And then I'm going to do vertical strips, and then I'm going to do horizontal strips. Yes, the other way around. I'm going to do vertical strips, horizontal strips, and vertical strips, so that it has a density of tape and also is covered completely. And you must make sure that you do a minimum of 3 layers always. So the sound you hear is me pulling off the tape machine. So you see there I've got my first piece of tape, and I'm just going to put it on like that. So I have put my first little piece of tape on. And I notice that suddenly my stalk is poking out. So I'm just going to open the cling film and just make sure that it's actually all the way around. And then I can just anchor it back and just put a little piece of tape to make sure that it's secure. There we go. And now you will hear the rhythm of me literally pulling the tape and putting it on. And I'm doing vertical first. And if you don't have too larger pieces, you'll find that it's easier to work with because the tape doesn't fold back on itself. So there we go. And as I'm working, I'm just turning the pair slightly. And my tape isn't coming right down to the bottom at the moment. It's just coming about three quarters of the way down. Anyway, here I go, continuing on, turning the pair around as I add the tape. And that's one layer for the top. So I'm going to turn the pair around and just literally start working from the other end, nice and slowly, evenly as I do it. And you can feel if you've got a bit of a gap, you'll get used to feeling that you're only touching cling film and not tape. And you really want the tape to kind of overlap each other a little bit so that it gives it the strength when you haven't got the pair inside it anymore. So there we go. So that's one layer done. And now I'm going to put the layers round the other way. There we go. And you can see that I'm actually turning it as I go. And don't worry too much if you get a bit of a crinkly bit. Just put another layer over that so there's nothing sticky left on the top surface. And it's quite therapeutic. The noise is quite pleasing and it's very rhythmical. And, you know, you can do quite a few pieces a day if you want to, or you can just set the challenge of doing one piece a day. Just turning it round as I add more sticky tape. And of course, what's happening here is the sellotape each time is taking some of my fingerprints and adding some of my DNA to this, which is a bit weird, really. Oops, I cut a bit big a piece, and so it got stuck round me. So that's why I say that it's sometimes better to cut slightly smaller pieces, because it makes it easier. And as you can see, it's beginning to get quite well covered. But I can still feel that it's a bit in some places. So I'm just adding a bit more. Oops, a bit bigger piece there. So good. Right, so I think that's just about got 2 layers on it now. So I'm just feeling if there's anywhere that seems, just found a piece on the bottom. It doesn't have the right amount of tape, so I'm just adding a bit more there. And do try and mold the tape so that it is really taking the shape of the pear. Right, so that's 2 layers now that I have done. And I will now continue again, working from the stem down towards the middle. Such a grey day outside at the moment, and the wind's just been howling around. You may realise that I'm working in my kitchen because I started my workshop out in my shed, but in fact, with the weather that we've been having, the connection kept dropping away, so I had to come back into my kitchen. There we go, quite good now. And you can buy sticky tape from the pound shops, and you can get about 5 rolls for £1. And so it's great. It's not expensive. I'm just feeling around the pear where there might be a bit of weakness. And the more tape you put on, when you actually light these, the more beautiful it all looks. There we go. I think that's just about done, very nearly. Just add a few more pieces to make sure that there's no weakness anywhere. I'm just feeling around, and I'm just going to add a bit more around that top edge. There we go. Around more around the stalk. There we go. There we are. So there we have 1 pear covered in sticky tape. All the way around, you can see. And the pear's still in it at the moment. So the next bit is really quite fun. And we're going to cut the pear out. So I have a look at the pear and I decide, right, where would I make the cutting line? And I think I'm going to make the cutting line on the inside curve. So with my scissors, I am literally going to stick through the sellotape into the pear so that I can start cutting easily and safely. And then once you get going, you'll find that it will come up to just the level of the tape and the cling film. And work up towards the top, but don't go right into the stalk. And then turn it around and then put your scissors into where you've cut and just go literally to the other side of the half of the bottom of the pear. And then what we do is we literally peel. As you can see, I'm just beginning to get a hole. You just peel very slowly, very carefully, the tape away from the pear. Very, very gently, just easing it off. And it does stretch just that little bit to enable you to work, which is what I'm doing now. My hands are getting a bit sticky because I went into the pear, and then I'm just going to ease the pear out of the tape. There we go. And out the pear comes. I'll just pull a bit of the stalk. The stalks come out, completely out of the pear and stayed in. There we go. Now, you'll see that I have got the two halves here. And so I have to stick the two halves back together. And what I do is I literally take the pear, and you see where my thumb is, just above there, I put a piece of tape. And I don't squeeze it or anything, I just lay it on and then move down and then try and make sure that everything's lined up nicely. And if you squidge it a bit, you can always put your finger in at the moment and just ease it out, because that's just what I did. I squidged it a bit. So you put your finger inside and just squidge it out, and then make sure that you're aligning it. You can actually see where it should be, because you'll get the lines. So and now I'm going to literally put my scissors in at the top, because I can see a bit that's got a bit flattened out. And I'm just going to push the shape back out again. So it's better. Because if you do, of course, squidge the tape, it would all totally collapse. And then again, just line everything up as much as you can. And then tape it across. And line up again, the crease, add the tape. And then I put one right down, I put a piece of tape right down the line to help secure the whole thing. And there you have a pear. And there's my original pear. And there's the pear that I have just made. And now my hands are a bit sticky, because putting the scissors right in to the pear has made it very sticky. that's fine. So I'm just going to take a tissue and wipe my hands a bit. And here's one that I did earlier that I showed you. There we go. And you could actually make these if you wanted to and hang them on your Christmas tree as a different form of decoration. And you can, of course, before you join it, if you want to put things inside, you can do that as well. So anyway, I will now continue and I will start to make the jug. I most probably won't get it finished in the time left this morning, but at least it will give you an idea how to manage things like handles. So again, you take your cling film, tear it so you've got quite a nice big piece, and this time what I do is that I literally follow the line of the edge of the top and just put a little inside. So there's the edge and there's the top. And just untangle cling film a bit. There we are, because it does go back on itself. And then bring it so that it's, again, up to the spout. And then just inside the spout, and then round down the top edge, and then pushing it quite tight around all the curves. Now, of course, with the handle here, I've got to just make sure that enough cling film goes through the handle, and then we've got enough cling film to go round the handle, because we want to have the handle as well. So what I do is I take this bit of cling film and I just literally add it and push it on to the jug. And then I take another piece of cling film and just add it to the handle. So I'll just grab a little piece of cling film here, untangle it, and just literally put it round the handle. Because if you don't, and you put sticky tape on the handle, then of course you can't cut it off. So the cling film acts as the barrier, which is very necessary. And you can just see, I think, if I do it like that, just here, there's a little gap with no cling film. So I'm just going to take a little bit more of cling film and just make sure that that little bit is covered as well. It does make it so much easier when you're cutting out. And any excess cling film, I will just literally put into the neck of the jug and smooth it round and just make sure that it will lie flat. And again, I'm going to push the cling film tightly onto the surface so that it's taut. Now, with this, again, I'm going to put a few strips round the middle just to anchor. Right. So here's my jug, and I'm going to put one round, and down. And that just starts to help to anchor cling film. And I'm going to put one under the lip of the pouring spout and push it in really, really tight, because the one thing I want is to get a really nice shape. And I'm going to put one across the bottom so that the excess cling film there won't unravel. There. And now I can start working with the strips, working down from the edge of the jug, because you don't want the edge to be too bulky after you've made it. So I just put a little and then just turn a tiny little bit over where I have the cling film. And I'm using very small pieces at the moment because they're much easier to manipulate. And my goodness gracious me, half an hour's already gone. I can't quite believe it. So I was just checking that all's working properly. Okay. So anyway, I will now keep going. Again, working down the jug. Around the spout. Down the jug. And again, the sound is really quite therapeutic. It's quite pleasant. So I've actually made a recording of the sound with the help of Dan Owlock, who put it on repeat for me because I didn't have the technology to do it. So I've actually got a sound piece now as well, which at other times I can use. Right, so I'm just again working round the object, adding the tape, because if you remember, we have to have 3 layers of tape to make it strong enough to cut out and for it to stand on its own when I'm finished. So I hope you're all having a good day and you've got nice things planned for this afternoon. I've got to go and do a bit of shopping because I need some dog treats for my dog, Bonnie, because tomorrow we're going off to do something quite exciting, something that I haven't done before, which is called man trailing. So I'm meeting up with a trainer and 3 other people, and we'll all be outside, so we'll all be totally safe and socially distanced and everything else. And we'll work with our own dogs, and we're going to start teaching them to trail people. This is the beginning of search and rescue, really, and the way that the search and rescue people start to train their dogs to find people. Not that I would ever go on and do that, because I'm not fit enough to walk 10 miles if that's, you know, where you have to go and find somebody. But for a couple of hours in the afternoon, it should be great fun. And Bonnie's actually been very good today. She's in the sitting room and she's not nagging to be in here with me. which is quite good. But we've been doing a lot of walking every day, of course. Certainly during lockdown, she was my hour's walk, my time out every day. Now, with the handle, can you see I'm going to put a piece through the handle and then just anchor it. Now, you'll find that as you touch it now, you might have a couple of sticky bits because the tape's got a bit twisted. We'll just cover those sticky bits up again. And again, I'm going through the handle. There we go. And once you've done this a couple of times, you will realize very quickly, you will know where there's a bit of a gap that you haven't covered. Now, to get the nice edge here, you want to push in. So literally, you want to push the tape in so it's really, really tight, so that you get a really good edge there. I'm turning and adding extra bits of tape as I work. And I hope that you're trying it out at the same time. And this, of course, will be going on the Stryx website. So if you want to show other people how to do it at a later date, you can. There we go. Great. Right, so I come to the handle now, and I'm just going to work the top of the handle down and then push it in as tight as I can. And that's kind of covered 1/2 of the handle. So I'll do it from the other side as well. There we go, and then push it in nice and tight. And I can feel that there's still quite a gap down at the bottom there. So I need to add more tape there. And then I'm going to add some extra. There we go, that's a bit better. And I'm going round and round and round as I go. And I'm now going the other way around as well. So I'm adding horizontally. Oops. Got myself tangled up in tape there because I cut a bit that was a bit big. But I couldn't have done this without the tape dispensers. And you can get new blades, which is great because I've been through a couple with all the work that I've been doing. I'm going to try and get this finished so that you can see cutting it out isn't quite so easy because of the handle. Because you actually have to cut a line down the handle to get it out and then put it back together again. I don't know if it's probably not working at quite as hard as I normally do because I'm trying to speak to you as well. Anyway, there we go. This is quite novel for me to be on Zoom because I've never hosted anything before, and heaven knows if I've done it right. But time will tell whether I get irate people commenting. But I know it's half term and people are busy as well. When I turn it round, whoop, no, there we go. Add a bit more to the spout here. It's such a pretty little jug. A bit more to the base. And the handle still needs some as well. There we go. And I suppose I should really have made a film of me doing this, and then I could have sped it all up for you. But actually, I thought that you need to recognize that it's not something that you can just do really, really quickly. You have to take your time. You have to be a bit patient. And of course, the larger the object, the more time it takes. But you can leave it, of course, if something else happens or the telephone goes, you can leave it and come back to it, which is very useful. A bit more around the edges again. And you have to be careful while you're using the tape dispenser that you don't actually catch your thumb on the cutting edge. I've done that a couple of times when I first started, and it's sore. It doesn't make an awful mess or anything, but it is a bit sore when you do that. Right, there we go. Right, so now I'm going to cut this out, and as you can see, I'm really squidging it quite hard. And I'm going to start at the base, and I'm going to put my scissors in, and I'm going to start cutting. And then I'm going to work up the side. It's much harder cutting onto a hard surface, of course. But it doesn't matter if it's not a completely straight line, it doesn't matter at all. Because you can fix a great deal when you glue it, stick it back together again. Right, now I'm going to cut the handle. Right, so I think we'll start at the top here and just cut the handle out. There we go. It's a bit fiddly again to start cutting, and perhaps normally I would have used a scalpel to do this, but because it's difficult to get the blades of the scissors in, as you can see. You can hear the scissors cutting. And I'm going to just literally take my scalpel just to do this. Be careful that you don't chip the glaze. So I put the scalpel inside and bring it out. Bonnie, be quiet. There we go. And I've just broken my blade. So these things happen, of course. So I'm just going to continue with the scissors at the moment. I've done it so tight on the handle, there's very little room to maneuver. So it's the fiddly bits that take the time, of course. There we go, we've just got the blade out of the way. And no damage done. Anyway, I cut away. And then I go back to where I did the cut. And I start, like with the pear, easing it off the jug. And you'll find that you'll see me just literally easing it off. And then you hear the kind of the crack as it releases, which is great. And I think I might have put a bit of tape a bit long on the inside. So I'm just going to ease that bit off and fold it over. And again, ease this off. Like that. There we go. There we go. And I'll just put the jug down. I'm just finishing cutting off the handle, but I need it on the table to do it. So sorry that you can't perhaps see quite so well. And I'm conscious of time as well, that we're just about to 10 minutes. So I just want to show you a few things as well. Anyway, so I would cut the rest of the handle out, and then you can see the shape of the jug. And then I would literally just tape it back together again like that. And here's the one, just like Blue Peter, that I did a while ago. So you get to see the finished article. And it takes roughly to do it all just under the hour. And if I wasn't doing it on camera, then of course I'd be more efficient and quicker. But again, if things get a bit battered, as they do when you're picking them up, you can always kind of ease the tape back out again so it takes its full shape. Now I can see here with this one, I didn't make the base quite as strong as I should have done. And these objects were all played with very much on Thursday night. when Ian and I were showing this work. So some of them have got a little bit battered, but in fact, I think it adds to the character of them. Anyway, so there's a jug. And something else that I've done is a teapot. And I could have done the lid separately, but I didn't. I did it all together. And this now is quite old. And I'm not quite sure whether or not it's going yellow because it is old, but I have a feeling that the actual tape was slightly yellower. So again, that gives a different look. Yeah. And I do have mugs and cups and saucers and sugar bowls, all made like this. So there's the sticky head, and you can see with the light coming through it, it looks like drawing rather than just sticky tape. It becomes something else, and that's where the invisibility is. And so much of my work is to do with the invisibility of the older person, and also with the COVID patients in care homes. And that's me. So if any of you would like to contact me, please do. My email address is sarahfortismayer@btinternet.com. My website is www.sarahfortismayer.com. And the work I do with Ian Andrews, my colleague, with In Public Art is inpublicart.wordpress.com. So please, if at a later date you have a go at doing this, please will you send me your images? You can always use WeTransfer if they're big and large things. That's about it, really. Thanks very much for being with me today. And I look forward to seeing you all some other time. And thanks very much, everybody. Bye for now. Bye. And here's Mini Me saying goodbye as well. Bye.